Drone operator Staff Sergeant Emma Reeves thought the 200-vehicle convoy on her thermal camera was a radar malfunction. It wasn't. The Taliban had organized their largest assault force ever, and they had one target, Outpost Viper, defended by only 12 Americans. Emma had just one Reaper drone, 6 Hellfire missiles, and 5 hours 40 minutes until dawn. Help was 4 hours away. The outpost would fall in 45 minutes, 200 against 1. But that one would fight in ways the enemy never expected, because sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't bullets, it's fear. Staff Sergeant Emma Reeves sat in an air-conditioned container in Nevada, controlling a drone flying over Afghanistan 7,000 miles away. She was 24 years old, Stanford psychology graduate, IQ 152, physical fitness test, failed twice. Her commanders had told her, "Reeves, you're not a warrior. You're an operator. War will never touch you." They were wrong. Her shift had been going for 11 hours, 30 minutes. Routine reconnaissance mission. Scan Helmand Valley. Report suspicious activity. Boring. Repetitive. Safe. On her screen, the thermal camera showed black and white images. Empty desert. A few villages. No movement. Then at 23:47, she saw it. In the corner of the screen, small white dots. Moving vehicles. Emma zoomed in. 1 vehicle, 5 vehicles, 20 vehicles, 50 vehicles. Her heart raced. She zoomed in further. 100 vehicles, 150, 200. "Oh my God," she whispered. The largest Taliban convoy ever witnessed. Technical vehicles, armored trucks, pickups mounted with heavy machine guns. Organized, disciplined, professional, and all moving toward the same point. Emma checked the coordinates. Her stomach turned. Outpost Viper, the smallest American outpost in Helmand. 12 soldiers, minimal defenses, hours away from reinforcement. "Command, this is Ghost Eye 27. Emma spoke into the radio, trying to keep her voice calm. "I have 200-vehicle hostile convoy, grid November Victor 3472, moving toward Outpost Viper. This is priority traffic." Static, then a sleepy voice. "Ghost Eye, verify count. Did you say 200? "Affirmative. 200 vehicles. Estimate 600 to 800 combatants. ETA to Viper is 45 minutes. Silence. Then panic. "Stand by, Ghost Eye." Emma looked at the screen. The convoy was moving. Slow but determined. The soldiers at Outpost Viper were sleeping, unaware. And in 42 minutes, they would be dead. Command came back in 3 minutes. But the voice was different. A general, tense, determined. "Ghost Eye 2-7, this is Overwatch Actual. Confirmed drone armament. Sir, I'm carrying 6 Hellfire missiles, full ammo for the 30mm cannon. Copy. Viper Garrison has been alerted. They're taking defensive positions, but they're massively outnumbered. Closest QRF is 4 hours out. Closest air support is 3 hours. You're the only asset in range." Emma's hands trembled. "Sir, 6 missiles against 200 vehicles. The math doesn't work." "I know, Sergeant. Your mission isn't to destroy them. Your mission is to delay them. Slow them down. Make them think twice. Buy time for Viper to prepare and for reinforcements to arrive." "How long do I need to buy, sir?" "Minimum 4 hours, preferably 6 inches. Emma looked at the screen. 6 missiles, 200 vehicles, 4 to 6 hours. Impossible math. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Granted." "This is a suicide mission for that outpost. 12 men against 600. Even if I slow the convoy, they'll still be overrun." "I know." The general's voice grew heavy. "But those 12 men volunteered for this. They know the risks. Your job is to give them a fighting chance. Can you do that?" Emma took a deep breath. She thought about her psychology degree. Years of studying human behavior, fear management, decision-making processes. "Sir, I have an idea, but it's unconventional." "I'm listening." The Taliban are coming with 200 vehicles because they're confident. Nobody challenges them at those numbers. But what if I don't make them fight 200 vehicles? What if I make them fight just me? Explain. Psychological warfare, sir. I can't slow them down. Too many vehicles. But I can stop them. I can scare them. I can make them fight me instead of the numbers. Because their only fear is airstrikes. I use that fear. Silence. Then, Reeves, you have 6 missiles and 4 hours of fuel. How exactly do you plan to scare 600 Taliban fighters? Emma smiled, really smiled for the first time. Sir, I learned something studying psychology. People fear what they can't see more than what they can. I'll become their shadow, their ghost, everywhere and nowhere. And by dawn, they'll be so terrified of me that they'd rather run than attack Viper. A pause. Then, Ghost Eye, you're cleared to engage. Your mission, delay enemy force by any means necessary. Rules of engagement are weapons free. Godspeed, Sergeant. Copy Overwatch. Ghost Eye engaging. Emma gripped the control stick. She looked at the screen. 200 vehicles, 40 minutes away. The game was beginning. Emma chose her first shot carefully. Not the convoy leader. That would be too obvious. Not a middle vehicle. That would seem random. Third vehicle from the rear. One of the command vehicles. 6 fighters inside. Probably one of the leaders. Emma locked the missile. Rifle, she whispered. Military jargon for missile launched. The Hellfire missile separated from 15,000 feet. Supersonic speed. Thermal guided. Unavoidable. 7 seconds later, the target vehicle exploded. The blast was so powerful that 2 adjacent vehicles flipped over. The convoy stopped. Emma watched on the thermal camera. Fighters poured out of vehicles. Not panic. Training. They dispersed. Took weapon positions, scanned the sky. A leader was shouting into a radio. Emma didn't understand Pashto, but the tone was clear. Where? How many? What do we do? They waited for 10 minutes, checked vehicles, collected wounded, but they saw nothing in the sky. The drone was at 15,000 feet. No thermal signature, no engine noise, invisible. Then the leader made a decision. The convoy moved again. Emma smiled. Okay, round 2. Emma waited 15 minutes. Let the convoy relax. Maybe it was a single strike. Maybe bad luck. Maybe. The second missile destroyed another command vehicle, this time at the front of the convoy. The convoy stopped again, but this time was different. Emma saw panic on the thermal image. Fighters running in every direction, scanning the sky, but seeing nothing. One fighter fired his RPG into the sky. Random, desperate. The rocket exploded 2,000 feet away from the drone. Emma listened to her radio. She wasn't a translator, but she understood the tones. Fear, confusion, argument. Some wanted to turn back. Some wanted to continue. Some wanted to scatter and hide. They argued for 20 minutes. Emma just watched, waited. Finally, the convoy moved again. But this time different, slower, more scattered, more distance between vehicles. Good, she was slowing them down, but they were still advancing toward Viper. Emma developed a strategy. One attack every 12 to 18 minutes. Random positions, sometimes front, sometimes rear, sometimes middle. No pattern, no predictability. Third missile, heavy weapons truck in the middle of the convoy. Massive explosion. 8 vehicles damaged. The convoy stopped for 35 minutes. Fourth missile, second vehicle from the rear. Smaller explosion, but psychological impact enormous. The convoy stopped for 50 minutes. This time, 40 vehicles turned back. Fighters argued. The leader shouted. But 40 vehicles separated from the convoy and withdrew. 160 vehicles remained. Emma checked ammunition. 2 Hellfires left. And 30mm rounds. Approximately 200 rounds. 3 hours 20 minutes had passed. 2 hours 40 minutes more needed. And the enemy was still 20 miles from Viper. She didn't fire the 5th missile. Saved it. because now she needed to use a different tactic. Emma lowered the drone to 8,000 feet. Lower, closer, riskier. She selected the 30mm cannon, precision fire mode. The convoy was passing through a valley. Narrow pass, single file. Perfect. Emma fired at the front vehicle's tire. 3-round burst. The tire exploded. The vehicle flipped, blocked the road. The convoy stopped, trapped. Can't go forward, must turn back. But Emma didn't give them a chance to turn back. She fired at the rear vehicle's tires. Boom, boom, boom. 3 more vehicles disabled. The convoy was now completely stuck. Panic began. Fighters poured out of vehicles. Some tried to run. Some fired into the sky. But they couldn't see the drone. Emma just watched for 40 minutes. Kept them there. On the thermal camera, she saw their leaders shouting, giving orders, losing control. Finally, 60 more vehicles left. Walked back. Abandoned the convoy. 100 vehicles remained. It was time to use the 6th Hellfire, but this time would be different. Emma waited until the convoy moved again, until they relaxed. Maybe the ghost was gone. Maybe it was over. 2 hours passed. No attacks. The convoy gained confidence, sped up. They were only 8 miles from Viper. 20 minutes. Emma fired the 6th Hellfire, but the target selection was different. Lead vehicle commander, the most important person. The missile hit the command vehicle directly. Massive explosion. The leader was killed. And Emma did something else. She lowered the drone to 5,000 feet, low enough for the engine sound to be heard. For the first time, the Taliban fighters heard the drone. Above, in the darkness, the invisible but present hum. The ghost had become real. Mass panic began. Vehicles scattered in every direction. Coordination collapsed. Leadership was gone. And in the sky, the thing that had been hunting them for 6 hours was still there. 40 more vehicles fled. 60 vehicles remained. But it was no longer an organized convoy. It was scattered, terrified groups without leadership. Time, 5:12. 23 minutes until dawn. Emma's fuel was at 8%. Her last 30mm rounds were gone. No Hellfires remained. 60 vehicles were still advancing toward Viper, but slowly, fearfully. On the thermal camera, Emma saw arguments in each group. Some wanted to attack. Some wanted to turn back. Then the sun rose, and with it, 6 Apache helicopters appeared on the horizon. Real air support, a 10 Warthogs, F-16S, all the air power that Emma's 6 hours had bought time for. The remaining 60 vehicles, seeing the helicopters, retreated in panic. Some abandoned their vehicles. Some raised white flags. Some just ran. Outpost Viper was saved. Emma leaned back in her chair. Her hands were shaking. An 11-hour, 30-minute routine shift had turned into 6 hours of psychological warfare. Her radio crackled. Ghost Eye 2-7, this is Overwatch Actual. Mission success. Viper secure. Hostile force has retreated. You just saved 12 lives tonight, Sergeant. Well done. Emma smiled, exhausted, drained, but alive. Copy Overwatch. Ghost Eye returning to station. 3 days later, Emma sat in a briefing room. Pentagon, generals, intelligence analysts. On the screen, recordings from that night played. 6 Hellfires, 200-plus 30mm rounds, 6 hours, reducing 200 vehicles to 60. A general spoke. Sergeant Reeves, we've watched these recordings. Our tactical analysts have studied them, and we're trying to understand something. How did you do it? How did you stop 600 Taliban fighters with 6 missiles? Emma took a deep breath. Sir, I didn't stop them. I made them stop themselves. Explain. The Taliban came with 200 vehicles because they trusted their numbers. But with each attack, I sent them a message. I see you, each one of you, and I can kill whomever I want, whenever I want. Each missile wasn't random. It was leadership, command vehicles, heavy weapons. I showed them that I wasn't attacking randomly. I was choosing strategically, and that scared them. But you only fired 6 missiles, 6 out of 200 vehicles. Yes, sir. But they didn't know that. Maybe I had 100 missiles, maybe 10 drones. They didn't know. They couldn't see. And the unknown is always more terrifying than known danger. I became their ghost, everywhere and nowhere. And for 6 hours, they were so terrified of that ghost that the army collapsed. The room was silent. Another general spoke. "Reeves, you have a psychology degree. Why did you join the military?" "I studied to understand human behavior, sir." "But I wanted to apply it in the real world. War is the greatest psychology laboratory. And that night, I condensed 6 years of education into 6 hours. The result, 12 Americans are alive, a 200-vehicle convoy collapsed, and the Taliban never attacked Outpost Viper again because they still think there's a ghost in the sky." Emma smiled. Good. Let them fear. 6 months later, Emma was training new drone pilots, 20 young operators, all trying to get used to looking at screens, learning to hold joysticks. A young female pilot asked, "Ma'am, is the rumor true? Did you really stop a 200-vehicle convoy by yourself?" Emma paused, then turned to the screen. "Yes, but I wasn't alone. I had 6 Hellfires. I had a 30mm cannon. And most importantly, I had psychology." "But how?" "The numbers were impossible, because I didn't fight to beat the numbers. I fought their perceptions. I fought their fears. I didn't show them reality. I showed them what they feared, and that was more powerful than any missile." The young pilot took notes. "So war isn't just weapons." "No. War is the mind. Weapons are just tools. But the real war is won in the enemy's head. If you can push them into fear, doubt, panic, you've won, without firing a single shot." Another pilot asked, "But you fired 6 missiles." Emma smiled. "Yes, because sometimes you have to show that the fear is real. The first missile gets their attention. The second missile scares them. The third missile pushes them to panic. And after the fourth missile, you're in control, not them." The training ended. The pilots left. But the young female pilot lingered. "Ma'am, one more question." "Ask." "That night, were you scared?" Emma paused. She had to be honest. Every second, 12 people were about to die, and I was the only help. I didn't have enough weapons. I didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough experience. But I directed the fear at my enemy, not at myself. And that made the difference." The young pilot nodded. "Thank you, ma'am. I hope one day I can be like you." "You won't." The pilot was shocked. "Ma'am?" Emma smiled. "You won't be like me. You'll be better, because now you can learn from my mistakes. You can take my tactics and improve them. Each generation should be better than the last. That's what progress means." The pilot smiled. "Yes, ma'am. I won't let you down. Don't worry about letting me down. Set the highest standards for yourself. And remember what I learned that night in the sky. The deadliest weapon is what the enemy never sees. Be a ghost. Be a shadow. And by the time they see you, they've already lost." Taliban records still discuss that night. They call it the Phantom Drone, the invisible hunter, the ghost that forced 140 vehicles out of 200 to retreat. In reality, it was just one woman, one screen, one joystick, and a psychology degree. But the Taliban don't know that. And Emma doesn't want them to know, because fear grows in the darkness. And Emma Reeves had become the master of darkness. Outpost Viper still stands. 12 soldiers still live. And in the sky, an invisible guardian is still watching. Drone operators see war from screens. But that night, Emma Reeves taught the world something. Sometimes the realest war isn't behind the screen, but in the enemy's mind. And whoever can win that war makes history. Staff Sergeant Emma Reeves, the Phantom, the Night Hunter, the woman who stopped 600 enemies with 6 missiles and pure psychological mastery. Her story was never written on any medal, never appeared in any official record, but at drone pilot school, there's now a lesson called the Reeves Protocol. When outnumbered, weaponize the enemy's mind, scare them, make them doubt, and watch them lose to their own dark thoughts. Because sometimes the greatest victory is won without ever fighting.